This one's gonna get the wellness girlies' panties all up in a bunch. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah. I'm a non-diet dietitian and we're talking about aspartame today. The World Health Organization recently announced earlier this summer in July 2023 that aspartame, which can be found in the beloved yet controversial Diet Coke, has been classified as possibly carcinogenic. Non-nutritive sweeteners like aspartame have been heavily debated for decades. Despite aspartame being one of the most exhaustively studied ingredients in the human food supply. So what's the deal? Should you abandon your diet sodas and other sugar-free products? Or is aspartame actually safe to consume? Let's start by defining what aspartame even is. Aspartame is a non-nutritive sweetener, otherwise referred to as an artificial sweetener, that is commonly found in sugar-free products such as diet sodas, chewing gum, and in desserts like sugar-free pudding and light ice cream. And it's also sold in the US as the tabletop sweetener Equal. Non-nutritive sweeteners like aspartame provide very few to no calories, and they generally have no impact on blood sugar levels. And because aspartame is about 200 times sweeter than table sugar, it's usually used in very small amounts. Along with aspartame, there are a variety of other non-nutritive sweeteners that are authorized as a food additive in the US. These include sweeteners such as sucralose, which is sold as the brand name Splenda, asulfame potassium, otherwise known as ACE-K, saccharin, which is sold under the brand name Sweet and Low, and there's also fruit and plant-based sweeteners such as stevia and monk fruit. These sweeteners all differ in terms of their chemical makeup and their sweetness level, and some people report different taste profiles amongst the sweeteners. And if you do choose to consume non-nutritive sweeteners, you can ultimately choose the one you prefer. Different pre-packaged foods will use different sweeteners, and you'll always know which ones are in there by reading the ingredient list on the label. All right, let's answer the question that probably brought you to this video. Is aspartame safe? The short answer is yes. Aspartame is safe to consume. Like I've mentioned, aspartame is one of the most studied food additives in the human food supply, with over 100 studies to date. The US Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, are the ones who regulate the use of non-nutritive sweeteners. The FDA first approved aspartame as a sweetener in 1974, and it was approved as a general purpose sweetener in 1996. Since then, the FDA has continued to monitor the scientific literature regarding aspartame. The FDA has established acceptable daily intakes for non-nutritive sweeteners. These ADIs are used to estimate the amount of a substance that is safe to consume on a daily basis over a person's lifetime. And the current ADI for aspartame is 50 milligrams per kilogram of a person's body weight. This is a pretty conservative number that a majority of people are not going to reach. To further illustrate, this means that a 150-pound person would have to consume more than 19 cans of diet soda per day, or more than 85 of those individual little aspartame packets every day over the course of their lifetime in order to be above the ADI. And I don't know about you, but I am not getting anywhere near that number, even with my beloved Diet Coke. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but if aspartame is considered safe, why was it recently classified as possibly carcinogenic? Does aspartame cause cancer? The International Agency for Research on Cancer classified aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans, putting it in group 2B. This is on the basis of limited evidence for cancer in humans. But what exactly does this mean? Well, the IARC sorts carcinogens and possible carcinogens into 4 categories. Group 1 is carcinogenic to humans. Group 2A is possibly carcinogenic to humans. Group 2B, which is where aspartame falls, is possibly carcinogenic to humans. And Group 3 is not classifiable as carcinogenic to humans. Again, the agency has placed aspartame in the low-risk group 2B. This means that evidence for its cancer-causing properties is limited. The strength of evidence classification in group 2B is generally used either when there is limited but not convincing evidence for cancer in humans, or convincing evidence for cancer in experimental animals, but not both. In other words, there is not strong evidence to support that aspartame is carcinogenic, unless you're a lab rat. Other group 2B carcinogens include things like aloe vera, Asian pickled vegetables, and radio frequency magnetic fields from your cell phone. I also want to point out that the WHO guidelines do not quantify the risk of any 2B substances, nor do they recommend limits for your exposure. Instead, this category just simply suggests how strong the evidence is that there might be carcinogenic effects. So the link between aspartame and cancer is a tenuous one. My take as a dietitian is that you can continue to drink your diet soda with a plate of pickled vegetables while slathering on some aloe vera and texting on your cell phone without worrying too much about increasing your risk for cancer. Now, all of that said, there are a group of people that do report having some side effects to consuming aspartame, especially headaches. These are anecdotal reports, and the general population is not going to have any side effects from consuming aspartame, at least within the ADI. When we ingest aspartame, it is broken down into aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methanol, all of which are naturally present in other foods and beverages at much higher quantities. This makes the biological mechanism for aspartame-specific symptoms and side effects really tough to study. So at the end of the day, if you do find that consuming aspartame gives you headaches or causes any other symptoms, you have the choice to not consume that food. This does not mean, however, that you have the right to tell others what they should or shouldn't be eating. To each their own. There is a rare genetic disorder known as PKU, and those with PKU should avoid aspartame because of the phenylalanine component. Testing for PKU happens when you are a newborn in the hospital, so you would likely know if you had it or not. Before we wrap up this video, we gotta discuss the elephant in the room. At the time that I'm recording this, there is a recent publishing in the Washington Post that states that dietitians are paid by the food industry to shape consumers' food habits. This post came out shortly after the announcement from WHO talking about aspartame and cancer. In response to the updated aspartame classification, the American Beverage Association partnered with a variety of dietitians to help spread the messaging to their audience about the safety of aspartame. And oh boy, did this get people fired up. The Washington Post article essentially said that dietitian influencers are sellouts and that their credibility is at large due to the fact that some of their posts are paid partnerships. There were also claims that these dietitians did not follow the Federal Trade Commission or FTC guidelines for posting paid partnership content. To be clear, this video is not sponsored by the American Beverage Association, and I was not featured in the article. However, I do consider myself a peer to many who were, and I do work with various brands myself. And while I agree that transparency and consistency within the FTC guidelines is so important, I do find it frustrating that registered dietitians are always on the receiving end of so much pushback when there are so many unqualified influencers and coaches who are building their businesses on nutrition misinformation and fear-mongering. There are influencers and celebrities sharing their recommendations for products every single day, including for foods and supplements and other health and wellness products that they have no business recommending. And the masses take their recommendations seriously, even the paid ones where they are likely just handed a script and told what to say about that supplement. I mean, look at the Kardashians promoting Sugar Bear supplements, or J-Lo recommending Goli apple cider vinegar gummies. Look at Gwyneth Paltrow's entire brand of Goop, or Oprah being a spokesperson for Weight Watchers. I could go on and on and on. The thing is that when I am looking for a product recommendation, let's say for skincare, I am going to go to an expert, a professional in that field. And my hope is that when you are looking for a recommendation for a health product, a supplement, a food, that you will turn to a registered dietitian. People ask me every single day for recommendations of meal ideas, snack ideas, supplements, and I am happy to share my recommendations. That's why I am on social media. But when a dietitian works with a brand, we are not given a script and told exactly what to say about that product. Instead, we offer our expertise to the brand, sometimes for a paycheck. The brand pays us to use our knowledge to promote their brand to our audience, if we see fit. And I can't speak for other dietitians, but I receive emails every single day from brands that I would never even consider working with with in a million years. Brands that don't support my values, products I don't use myself, and of course just tons of sketchy BS supplements that I'd never recommend to anybody. Dietitians, like myself, are not just working with anybody and everybody who pops into our email inbox. And just because we do work with brands, it does not mean that we lack critical thinking or the ability to make educated decisions. Registered dietitians also abide by a code of ethics. We are at risk of losing our licensure if we participate in unethical practices. And the same could not be said for most influencers. They really don't have anything to lose. Again, I cannot speak for all dietitians, and there are plenty out there whose practices I disagree with. But as a dietitian myself, I am just trying my best to spread the non-diet message and help people heal their relationship with food. And a lot of what I say is going to go against what you're used to hearing in the media about nutrition and health. I mean, telling people that it's okay to enjoy all foods is not quite as grabby as someone saying, oh my gosh, avoid all of these toxic chemicals that are gonna give you cancer. At the end of the day, you get to choose what you do or don't consume. And I really do empathize with those who just feel frustrated and confused with all of the mixed messaging regarding nutrition and health. Diet culture has really done a number on us. So bottom line, does aspartame cause cancer? There are not any individual foods or ingredients that cause cancer, aspartame included. The recent IARC classification of possibly carcinogenic is based on limited evidence in humans. So unless you are consuming dozens of cans of Diet Coke each day, you likely don't have to be too concerned about aspartame. Well, friends, that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it down below. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe so you always know when I'm posting new videos like this one. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.